It's great to see all of you this morning, and I'm hoping that today's snow is, well, I better not, I won't say it out loud. Never mind. Oh my goodness, March. I remember when I was in school, my claim to fame is that I went to Culloden Public School, grades 1 to 8 in that school. Irma Ellis was my teacher. I think I might have told you this before, but this is my claim to fame. Irma Ellis is Ron Ellis's mom. Now, how old am I? Like older than dirt, I would say. But Irma Ellis stood all of about 4'11", and she was the toughest lady I ever met. But anyway, how do I get there? Well, in public school, we would have this thing where every day in March we'd put a lamb or a lion on the board. Do you remember that? Got a lot of lions on my board at the house this month. But anyway, spring is coming, so they tell me. We've got some announcements. There's a couple things you might not, well, one thing that you might not see unless you go to the back of the room and stick your head over the fence there and chat with Andy or Terry. But our sound system has taken a slight little change, and we're working some of the gremlins out of it, as they say, but there's a new soundboard back there. It's replaced our soundboard that was 25 years old or so. It was here when we constructed. But that's in memory of Andy's mom and dad and Jen's grandparents and Aunt Sandy, and so they said you can make a little deal of it, but not a big deal. So here's my little deal. Thanks so much to Andy and Jen for making that donation of some new sliders. And they say that necessity is the author of invention, I think, or that somebody said that. Well, we needed it, and so thanks Andy and Jen for looking after putting that in place. Yes, yes. And I can hear the difference up here for sure, but anyway, we're just working on it, and it's just all about fine-tuning. The other thing that I know is that our PowerPoint person, Michaela, is off sick this morning, so we're working that out. I think we got it figured out. This is Self-Denial Month. You'll notice over there that this all matches that. And our initial self-denial project is you could take a jar home and you could fill that jar with some coins or other and bring it on back and help us to reach our target of $3,500 for self-denial. And you'll notice some things floating around about Partners in Mission self-denial in the next days and weeks as we just turn our focus that way just a little bit. The other things, well, there is a video. I'm just not sure if I can play it from here. Maybe I can. Let's try it. Yes, I can.
One Sunday I decided to go to church, attend church, and call Santo Paul. And after a vibrant message, I heard a voice told me, "This is your church, Sonia." And I came forward, they prayed for me, and I enrolled as a soldier, and here I am in the training college to be trained to become an officer of the Salvation Army. To be a cadet for me is to be humble in training, and is to be responsible to God's word. I want to carry on my founder's vision. This is my ambition, my vision, to seek souls for Christ and meet them, meet human needs in His name. People hungry, cold, and left alone. They need you, they need me, and they need Christ.
Now, you have to know that people come here with different backgrounds. And when you can mold that person, at the end of the training, you see a brand new leader. And there was a holistic approach of the ministry of the army and the way people go on the field to minister to people, get the work done. That's my greatest joy to see.
Your Partners in Missions dollars directed Jamaica way this coming season. Get the Good Friday service on your calendar. It's April the 7th, Good Friday, 10:30 over at Meadowlands Church. We'll be participating, as you can see, with all 4 of the Salvation Army churches in town. And that will be a nice time to see some of your friends, I'm sure, and then just meditate your way through Good Friday. The Congress, some folks were asking me last week about the Congress, and it's an interesting way that, like, it's very electronically broadcast. So please take note of that, salvationist.ca/inspire. Anything you want to know, you can find there. If you get gummed up and you're here on Tuesday, let me know, and we'll light up a computer and help you find what you need to find, and we'll help you with that. So please take a look there. But if you go to the Salvation Army Church, I don't know why it's changing by itself. Every once in a while, you should go to salvationist.ca, right? Lots of good stuff there. Okay, here's our weekly things. You'll see the exercise group there on Tuesday at 10:30. The Men's Journey, this is their on week, so men that are participating in that, 1 o'clock on Tuesday, please make note, mark your day timer or your calendar. Bible study, Thursdays, going to say a word about that in a moment. The evening programming, the Tuesday evening gathering, and then this Tuesday there's a WWF meeting, Tuesday at 6:30. That's the Winterberry Women's Fellowship meeting, 6:30 on Tuesday evening. So just as we're getting the to gather going. Bible study, Thursday, 10:30. Mark the time change, 10:30. Some coming events, Tuesday, April the 4th, there's a craft night, so you want to see Sue or Carolyn, and I think they've got a sample craft out there. I was excited to see it when I woke up this morning on our kitchen counter. It's amazing. No, it's amazing. I couldn't do that. Anyway, there's some samples out there. Please see Sue or Carolyn for info on that. May the 13th, the high tea. We're going to start putting some stuff in front of you about that. And also, I've got a note here to say we should say something about donations for the new sign. We're working on the new sign. It's in motion, electronic sign out on the street. We're working on that hard. And if you would like to contribute to that sometime, please do it soon, because I think we're getting sort of close to making that all happen. So that's happening, all kinds of things happening. There's the Men's Journey slide, the 14th and the 28th this month. So it's this week. This Thursday, March the 16th, so that's this coming Thursday, 10:30. You can see the details there. I'll just leave that there for you for a second. And then in prayer, if you got a prayer note that you're kind of making, please put Julie Bullock on that prayer list, and Jackie, Darby, and Wayne. Please put them on that prayer list as well. And baby song, Thursday. Men's breakfast coming up, 25th, last Saturday of the month, 8:30. Get your hunger on. NCD, if you've got a survey that's not done yet, please get it done. We're going to be closing that up probably the end of this week or first of next. And then the craft and vendor sale that's happening here in support of the Salvation Army, 9 till 2 on the 29th of April. It's sold out, so if you want to sell your crafts, you'll have to bend somebody's arm and make it happen that way. It's sold out. Isn't that exciting? Didn't lift a finger hardly. So it's a sellout. 30 tables, I believe. 15 minutes of, my goodness. Okay, let's sing. That's what we came here for. The band has already introduced our first song, and I hope you're going to love it. I love hearing it sung. God is love. There's 4 verses. We're going to sing 2, and then we're going to stop for a second. Please stand. Sorry. God is love. Let heaven and earth their praises ring. God is love. Let every soul from sin awake. Each in his heart sweet music make. And sing with us for Jesus' sake. God is love. God is love. God is love. And sing with us for Jesus' sake. God is love. Hotel to earth's remotest bound, God is love. In Christ we have redemption found, God is love. His blood has washed our sins away, His Spirit turned our night to day, and now we can rejoice to say, God is love. God is love. God is love. And now we can rejoice to say, God is love. How happy is our portion here? Because God is love. His promises our spirits cheer. He is our sun and shield by day. He's our hope, our strength, our stay. He'll be with us all the way. God is love. And we'll sing the final verse together, please. In Canaan we shall sing again. God is love. And this shall be our loudest strain. God is love. Endless ages roll along. We'll triumph in the heavenly throng. And this shall be our sweetest song. God is love. God is love. God is love. And this shall be our sweetest song. God is love. Please be seated. Are you getting ready for Easter? Is it coming? It's kind of hard for me until I can see some daffodils or something blooming, but I find that Easter does this to me often. It sneaks up on us, and before we know it, Easter has come and gone. So I hope that you're following the instructions that I shared with you in the newsletter. Somebody actually came to me. I never know, although I know that you all read the rest of it. I just don't know if you skip over the front page or not. So, but in the newsletter, I encouraged you to read one of the Gospels, read the Jesus story. Sue and I keep being encouraged by our family to watch the Chosen on TV, and we just can't seem to get to it. We will. It's only 3 seasons gone, but we'll get to it. And others have said, well, it's not completely accurate. Well, let me tell you what is accurate. Don't tell anybody. But Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, accurate. There's no dramaticizing. It's accurate information. So as I encouraged you through this Easter season, maybe take the time to read through one of the Gospels, or if you're a real reader, and I know some of you are, read them all. Read them all. Each one comes from a different aspect, different, kind of like a different perspective. So this is our attempt to get you into that mode. Hosanna. Praise is rising, eyes are turning to you. And the chorus, as you know, Hosanna. Here we go. Praise is rising, eyes are turning to you. We turn to you. Hope is stirring, hearts are yearning for you. We long for you. When we see you, we find strength to face the day. When your presence, all our fears are washed away. Hosanna, Hosanna, you are the God who saves us. Worthy of all our praises. Hosanna, Hosanna, come have your way among us. Welcome you here, Lord Jesus. Hear the sound of hearts returning to you. We turn to you. In your kingdom, broken So it won't be long. We'll be singing Hosanna on Palm Sunday, so look ahead to April and get that marked on your calendar. We've been practicing this song for such a time as this, and so I want you to sing it with gusto. Instrumental. Let the King of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, he is my song. You are good, good, oh, you are good, good, oh, you are good, good, oh, you are good, good, oh. Let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. So is my song. Let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. You are good, good, oh, you are good, good, oh, you are good, good, oh, you are good, good, oh. You're never gonna let me down. 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 When the night is holding on, when the night is holding on to me, God is holding on. When the night is holding on to me, God is holding on. Let's pray together. Father, here we are. And we come just as we are, from the various directions, but also from various places in experience, Lord. For some of us, this week has been a busy one, a tough one, perhaps. For some of us, we've wondered what to do next, perhaps. For some, in our gathering, Lord, it's been a week of health concerns. For some, it's a time when we've been perhaps to the doctor, to other places. For others, anticipating March break and grandkids and those kinds of things. But Lord, for all of us, we come just as we are, anticipating what you might have to say to us as we put ourselves in a place like this, to worship, to pray, to read your word. Help us to remember, Lord, that it's not just here. It's every day of our experience with you that you will speak in with a voice that is clear when we wait upon you. So we wait upon you. For those in our congregation, Lord, today that are celebrating, I pray that you, by your Holy Spirit, will celebrate with them. For those in our group this morning, Lord, who are struggling, will you struggle alongside them? But Lord, for all of us, we want to know that you are here, moving among us by your Spirit. So make your presence known. Can we just whisper that little chorus once more? When the night is holding on to me, God is holding on. When the night is holding on to me, God is holding on. I pray it's true for you. Maybe someone else in your world needs to know that it's true. So we'll sing it once more, and maybe you can communicate that to somebody who you know needs to just know that God holds us in those moments that are dark. When the night is holding on to me, God is holding on. When the night is holding on to me, God is holding on. Amen. Will you take hold of your Bible in whatever format you've brought it and turn it open to 2 Timothy. Now, we've been studying our way through 2 Timothy in these days, and this morning we're going to take a look at these verses that are there in front of you. I'll read them from the New King James Version, which is the one I typically speak out of, but you bring or use whichever translation you've got, and note some of the contrasts. And if you're reading the Message, do any of you have Peterson's The Message at home on your bookshelf? Yeah, quite a few hands. Will you make me a little promise that when you go home today, if you didn't bring it, when you go home today, you'll read Peterson's version of these verses? Quite entertaining, actually, and quite true. Verse 19, 2 Timothy chapter 2, nevertheless, the solid foundation of God stands, having this seal, and we talked about this last week. The Lord knows who are his, and let everyone who names the name of Christ depart from iniquity. But in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and silver, but also of wood and clay, some for honor and some for dishonor. Therefore, if anyone cleanses himself from the latter, he'll be a vessel for honor, sanctified and useful for the master, prepared for every good work. Flee also youthful lusts, but pursue righteousness, faith, love, peace with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. But avoid foolish and ignorant disputes, knowing that they generate strife. And a servant of the Lord must not quarrel, but be gentle to all, able to teach, patient, in humility correcting those who are in opposition, if God perhaps will grant them repentance so that they may know the truth and that they may come to their senses and escape the snare of the devil, having been taken captive by him to do his will. Amen. Amen. I didn't forewarn Terry, but Terry, could you come and pray over the offering, and we'll look after that now. Thanks.
I didn't realize until last time I did this how old I'm looking. I watched it on YouTube, and I didn't realize how strange my voice sounded, for one thing, and how old I've got over the last few years. So now I know what you people are having to look at. So when I do this, I will try and be as short as possible so you don't have to suffer the look of me in the mornings. Let's the ladies come forward, please. And a gentleman. Thank you. Let us pray. Dear God, we are giving back to you part of what you have given to us. We pray that you'll help us to spend it wisely, to use it for the extension of your kingdom, to use it to bring men and women, boys and girls back to you in a world where it seemingly has so many people have wandered away from you. We pray that you'll help us use this wisely and take it as it is being given. Amen.
I don't know if you follow or listen to band music, but Sidney Cox became a general in the Salvation Army. He wrote that particular piece when he was an adjutant. For all you Salvation Army folks, you know what an adjutant is. I think it's just one stop north of cadet, maybe. I'm not sure. But anyway, Sidney Cox became the general of the Salvation Army and wrote a lot of amazing songs. And Denny and I looked him up a couple weeks ago, and he's one of our favorites for sure. He's written some of the nicest music that you've ever heard in the Salvation Army. You know how my brain works? Sometimes I forget things. It wasn't written down, but after the service this morning, not immediately, but after a few minutes, we're going to need to clear the chairs. We've got a group coming in here to do some stuff in the gym. So if we could clear the chairs, if I could get a little bit of help for that, that'd be great. How are you doing with 2 Timothy? Have you been thinking about it? It's kind of starting to bug me, actually, 2 Timothy, only because some of the things that I'm reading there are things that are just a little bit... well, you know how some things kind of get under your skin a little bit, or perhaps it's, suggestions that I kind of really need to work on. Isn't that kind of how God's Word works, though? You read something, and you kind of put it aside, and then you read it again a number of years later, and you say, yeah, you know what? I really kind of got to go to work on that. That's kind of how it is when I read either of the Timothys, because they're letters to a pastor, and oftentimes it just reminds me of things that the church should be or could be doing, or at least re-referencing, places where we kind of need to re-reference and kind of go back and, as Revelation says, do the first works a little bit. But as I was lining this one up, I was thinking, well, what brought you to church? Like the first time? Well, maybe not the first time. This morning on the video, we heard a young man say that, he decided to go to church. Well, a while ago, that was kind of a thing, that you might just decide to go to church and, show up at a church and kind of take it from there. So I don't really want you to think about that time. I mean, for me, that was Culloden back in the 60s, I suppose, and you went to church because that's what Grandma said you should do, right? That's what Grandma said, and she was, as you know, kind of involved in that church. But the first time, it's possible, and I know because of I know so many of you that some of you went to church by osmosis. Right, you just attended church because that was the thing that your family did, and you didn't really have a choice. You were just, you woke up on Sunday morning, you got dressed up, you went to church. I call that church by osmosis. And then there was church like I did it, which was you would call my family the C&E Christians. Right, Christmas and Easter we would show up at church, but that's about it. Really no other reason to go until later on in my life. How about the crisis church attenders? Not a bad thing, some crisis event happens in your life. I can remember a church where, short time into our tenure there was a crisis. There was a funeral, and Heather said, "We want the Salvation Army to do the funeral for our family." And she's never stopped attending since. And I'm pretty sure if there's still a Salvation Army in Napanee, she's there this morning. Hi, Heather, if you're listening. Crisis will do it. Sometimes it's just a process, right? Sometimes it's a process. It's just, it's something that it just feels right to do, and so you do it. But for me, I was working in Chatham. I was learning how to do high-power electrical work, and I was commuting from my home base, which was my parents' house, and going to Chatham. And I can remember during that time I became a believer, which was a stark contrast to some of the other things, but there was some kind of a revival going on in my little town, and I was there, and Sue and I have tracked back a number of times, and we can still put our fingers on people who are still in ministry and came to Christ during that time. So something happened in me, and I needed to find a church, but I was gone all week. So there I was in Chatham, and this group came to sing at my home church in Brownsville. Don't throw stuff at me. It was a United Church, and it was a really cool place to be at that point in time. And I racked my brain this week to remember the name of the band, the name of the group that came. I can't remember, but I can remember the leader's name because he and I ended up getting pretty close. In fact, I think he and his wife sang at our wedding a year or so later. Wayne Hassan. And he played an Ovation guitar. And he invited me. They just happened to be from, God doesn't do weird stuff. He just sets it all in motion. They happen to be from Chatham. Victoria Avenue United Church. Victoria Ave United Church. You know right where that is, right, Len? Right on the corner there. It's a big old edifice of a church. I thought, what in the world are we going to do here? But Wednesday night was worship night, and they asked me to come, and they allowed me to play. I didn't know church songs. I was a John Denver, Gordon Lightfoot, James Taylor, Harry Chapin guy. I didn't know that, but I knew how to play guitar, and they let me play, and it was amazing. So they allowed me to fit in. You know what? It was a safe place. It was a safe place. And it was an accepting place. A little bit of a strange place for a non-believer young Christian that I was. But you know what? I never, ever, to my knowledge, attended a Sunday service there. Wednesday night. So I already told you that in Paul's letter to Timothy, a letter to a young pastor, well, Timothy was 45, almost 50 when Paul's writing to him, so he wasn't so young, but letters to a pastor, we get a glimpse of what the church needs to be in Paul's mind, and I believe in God's heart, if they're going to engage the community and be a place where people feel safe to come instead of a place to avoid. And this is where it starts to bug me because, we can do this, and we are doing this. Everything I say to you in the next 15 minutes, we're doing it. So Paul starts this portion of 2 Timothy, and I'm looking at verse 20. He says, but in a great house. And he's referring to God's house. And I know that because of what he said up in verse 19. Do you remember it? In verse 19, he says, God's foundation is sure. Don't be worrying about it, he said. Don't be worrying that the church is going to somehow fail or God's not got his hand on it. No, God's got this in his heart, in his mind. He's got it in his focus. And even though guys like Hymenaeus and Philetus are spreading all kinds of weird stuff around and telling people things that aren't true and leading them astray, even though all that sort of stuff is coming against the church, God has still got the church in his focus. And he knows who are his. He knows those, Paul says to Timothy and then says to us through his word today. He knows those people who have made a commitment in their heart to him. He knows those people. And he says, those folks have turned away from evil, turned away from unrighteousness. That's really another word for repent, right? Turned away from the things I was doing wrong and turned towards the things I needed to do right. For me, that was sometime in 1977. Not sometime, actually. It was August the 19th, 1977. That's the day for me. So when he says in God's great house, in the great house, he's referencing back to that nevertheless word that we looked at last week. And he's referencing the strength of God's church and the people that are in it. And he knows those people and they've turned away from evil. But then he says this, and this is where we need to kind of dig into this just a little bit. Verse 20, but in a great house, there are not only vessels of gold and silver, but also wood and clay, some for honor, some for dishonor. he talks about vessels. And I was looking for a title for the sermon, and that's all I could come up with was vessels. I'm trying to do one-word titles these days, just to try and give you one thought. It was going to be actions, that might come later, but it's vessels. Vessels. Do you have vessels in your house? Now, some of the other translators use the word things, kind of a weak word. Vessels. I want you to think about vessels. And when you think about vessels, I want you to think about stuff that carries stuff. Things that carry stuff, right? It might be liquid, it might be solid, but a vessel. No, I'm not going to say that. Sue will get after me if I say that. I'll tell you later. Vessels, things that carry things, okay? Now, we've got to take this picture and bend it just a little bit, because when he talks about vessels, he's also talking about people, right? Are you with me? He's not talking necessarily about the bowls and dishes and cups and saucers and things in your house. He's talking about the people in God's house are vessels. And that's kind of the picture that I want you to hold on to. He says some are silver and gold. Now, the things that are silver and gold in your house are things that are to be treasured. Now, not so much anymore do you still do the china cabinet? Many of you probably do. We kind of got rid of ours. It was just too much. And with us moving, now we've still got the china. And when we built the house, or we didn't build the house, when we renovated the house, Sue made me put one door on the cupboards with glass in it, and that's where we keep our china. It never comes out. And I'm more practical than that, and I say, do we really need a whole cupboard full of dishes we don't use? I don't know, but they're good, and Sue wants to keep them, and we do use them every once in a while, I know that. But they're on display. So vessels of gold and silver are things that are going to last forever, those kind of things. They're long-term things. But then he says there's also some things made of wood and clay. And when he says that, he says there are also some things in your house that you just use for a while and dispose of them. You get some of those things in your house, right? For sure you do. My favorite morning coffee cup is silver. Not real silver. Stainless steel, I suppose. Keeps the coffee not too hot, because I don't like super hot coffee. Not too cold, but I know that in about 15 minutes I got to drink that coffee or it'll be cold. But it's a stainless steel cup. And don't tell Sue, but I really don't wash it that much. Now, I'll run boiling water into it and swill it around and swish it around and wipe the edges of it. Just don't tell. I don't put it in the dishwasher too much. I don't know. It goes there sometimes. Usually it's because Sue captures and let's put this thing in the dishwasher. But that's something that's going to be around for a while. And you know what I've done since I got old? I've been purchasing things that are going to outlast me. Isn't that weird? Is that weird? I think so. When I retired, I said, I want a leather briefcase. And the boys and Sue bought me a leather briefcase. And I know it's going to outlast me. And it's starting to look pretty worn. And that's what I wanted. Just like me, a little worn. Good. My favorite morning coffee cup. I'd say it's a vessel of honor. I'd say so. I got a vessel of dishonor in my house. I don't even like talking about it. But it's that, I've told you about this thing before, but it's that thing that I hide under the sink. Nobody in my whole family will empty it. They won't. They won't even touch it. Because after about 3-4 days, it starts to grow stuff. You know what I'm talking about. It's that nasty green bin underneath your sink. It's a nasty thing. And we've done everything we can, but you know what I've discovered? Here's a little secret for you. I'm not in the home tips really much, but you know the special bags you can put in there to make it a little less gross to get out of your house? The perfume that they put in those bags creates pink mold. Did you know that? There's some trivia for you. But when it grows all that pink stuff on the top, if you forget it for a couple days, or maybe it's just mine, that's the perfume in there that does that. I looked it up. It's for sure, because I saw it on Google. That's a nasty vessel, isn't it? That thing. Nobody wants to take it out. And I'll just tell you one story about it, but I had some bags that were a little bit out of date. Did you know that there's so much science to garbage now, right? The bag was slightly out of date. And so I'm carrying it to the door, at which point the bottom dropped out somewhere before I got to the door. So all that nasty stuff is on the floor. That's a vessel of dishonor. For sure. But Paul says to Timothy that in God's house, in the big house, there are vessels of honor, there are vessels of dishonor. There are silver and gold vessels, there are wood and clay vessels. And we said that those aren't vessels, those are people. But when Paul says that both are in the church, he's talking about inclusiveness, isn't he? Not exclusiveness. And here's where this started to bug me this week. Because if we've done anything in the church over the last 50 years that I've been hanging out in it, it's we become more and more exclusive. More and more exclusive. And I just want to talk about that for a minute. I could have titled the sermon Inclusive, Exclusive. I don't want you to politicize those words this morning, okay? Paul's talking about people. And I'm not saying that you're a coffee cup or a trash can, but the idea here is that it takes all people to make the church work. And we need to make sure that we're being inclusive and not exclusive. The church, that is God's great house, needs to be a place where all can come and all can be accepted. The gold and the silver have to get along with the wood and the clay, and the wood and the clay have to get along with the gold and the silver, and neither of them can think they're special or not special. You see, it's tolerance for people who aren't like you. How could that be? Everybody should be like me. But you know what? The church needs to be a place where maybe they don't dress like you. And that's okay. And maybe they don't think like you, and that's okay. And maybe they don't behave like you or believe like you, and I could keep going on the list, couldn't I? And so my question is, what if the church has become exclusive? What are we supposed to do? What if it's become more of a country club style, where everybody dresses and thinks and acts in a similar way? What do we do? Well, I think there's a reason why the church has gone exclusive in the last 50 years. Let me read you a list of 8 things. And you'll love these things because they're all good values. And we've tried to bring them into the church, but exclusive is the problem. Because exclusive means comfort. And exclusive means strength. And exclusive can mean security and uniformity. I hated to use that word, but uniformity. Exclusive is clean and respectable and manageable and predictable. And those aren't bad values, are they? They make for a very stable and well-managed house. But when they're held as exclusive rights of entry, they go against God's plan for the church. Because you see, inclusive is what God is thinking about. And this is hard for me to say, but inclusive can be a little bit uncomfortable for many of us. Inclusive means that we might have to allow in some weakness. Inclusive can be a little bit insecure. Inclusive means that there may be some differences, and it's messy, and there might be some disrespect, and they might not follow the rules. It might be a little unmanageable or unpredictable. And while these values may not be our or my values, and those realities might not be my realities anymore, Because I looked at the list and I was all of those things. And you were too, once. In God's house, there has to be a tolerance for wood, silver, wood, clay. We got to coexist in the non-political version of that term. The hope is in verse 21. Look at verse 21. Therefore, if anyone cleanses himself from the latter, he or she will be a vessel for honor, sanctified and useful for the master, prepared for every good work. Here's the truth. The church is a place of transformation. That's what it was meant to be, a place of transformation. Not a place where we just hang out and all be the same. It's a place of transformation. There's this verse in 2 Chronicles, and if you go home and read this verse, read the whole paragraph. 2 Chronicles 7:14 says this, if my people, and he's actually talking about a house. He's talking about Solomon's house. If my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray, seek my face, God says, and turn from their wicked ways. That's transformation. That's what we've been talking about for 2 weeks. Then from heaven I will hear, God says, and I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. See, transformation is a reality. It's God's idea, not mine, that the church is a place of transformation where people can come and turn their lives around. I did. Not transformation to become members of the exclusive club. Not transformation to get into a denomination, but transformation to find God's plan for you and for me. Transformation into making God's big house more and more a place where people can come, and here's the list again, with their discomfort, their weakness, their insecurity, my differences, my messiness, my disrespect, my distrust, my unmanageable life, my unpredictability, and find hope and healing and acceptance from the other vessels that used to be just the same. Just the same. Not better vessels, but vessels of honor, Paul says. Sanctified by God, life turned around, useful for the master. You see, it's about service, not being a celebrity. Prepared for every good work that he might have for you to do. Prepared. That's the church's role, to transform vessels from dishonor to honor so that they're ready to do every good work that God has prepared for them to do. Winterberry Church, we have a mission. To share the love of Jesus Christ, to meet human needs, and to be a transforming influence in our community. The Church of God commits itself to being more and more increasingly inclusive and push back on and become less and less and less exclusive, to give the people of this community a safe place to come with their messiness, to meet people who have also struggled with messiness and find hope and help and healing. The battle we have is that the community around us thinks we're exclusive. So the community thinks of the church exclusive. We got to do everything we can to break that barrier and become inclusive. Final statement, bottom line. I wrote this down. It kind of makes Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday just about as important as Sunday around here, doesn't it? Let's pray. Father, as we look at ourselves this morning through the looking glass of Paul's letter to Timothy, And as we look at places where we want to be inclusive, not exclusive, as we look at ourselves in a mirror and try to see ourselves, try to see the church the way that the world sees, help us, Lord, to reach past the barriers, to break them down, to share the love of Christ, to meet human needs, and to be a transforming influence in the community just in the same way as you've transformed us. Thank you, Lord, for this place. Thank you, Lord, for this people who I have watched reach past those barriers. I have seen people reach out, not just in. Lord, give us strength and help us to remember that we are not celebrities here. We are servants, servants of God. Now, Sylvia is going to help us to sing this song. And I just want it to be a quiet moment for you and for me. The song says, I heard a voice gently calling, take up thy cross and follow me. A tempest, a storm was falling on my heart. Yes, sometimes that's why people come to church, because the storm happens. I struggled, could see no light, but then I saw you. That's our mission. Let's sing the first verse. I heard a voice so gently calling, take up the cross and follow me. A tempest on my heart was falling, a living cross this was to be. I struggled sore, I struggled vainly, no other light my eyes could see. I'll follow thee, of life the giver, I'll follow thee, Redeemer, I'll follow thee, deny thee never, by thy grace I'll follow thee. Sing the second verse. Heard this voice unto me saying, take up thy cross and follow me. My heart is thine, now the obeying word, dear Lord, to me. Make weakness strength, thy power now give me, and from this hour I'll follow thee, I'll follow thee, the giver, I'll follow thee, Redeemer, I'll follow thee, deny thee never, by thy grace I'll follow thee. Father, today, commit ourselves to you in our hearts, our desires to follow you closely. Lord, help us, give us strength, give us hope, give us faith as we seek to share what you've done in us with those around us who need to hear that message. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, Arch is going to come and close our service with In My Heart Today.
Well, it's so nice to be able to go to the house of the potter, to be tested and to be tried, and most of all, to be broken and to be made over again. That's where it happens, folks, in the house of the potter. Thanks, Brad, for your message this morning. We're going to share together another song. In my heart, there's a melody, a gladsome melody. A song of cheer is ringing clear, for my heavy burden is rolled away. What a happy, happy day. Let's stand together as the band leads us, please.
Song is ringing, for he pardoned me, I know, because he loved me so. I'm singing, 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 just because he loved me so.
Now, I think there's one set of words on the screen, and we're singing another set, but that's okay. We'll finish it up. We'll sing the chorus twice, Roger, please. You're okay, Roger. It's the words on the screen, isn't it, right? So we'll do the chorus twice. Yep. And we're going to sing it good. Come on.
My heart's song is ringing, for he pardoned me, I know, it's because I love him so. Singing, 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 just because he loved me so. In my heart a song is ringing, because he loved me so. Singing, 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 because he loved me so.
Our Father God, we thank you this morning because you love us so. And in our heart today, a song is ringing. We're giving you praise. We're giving you glory for your goodness toward us. And we pray now that as we go from this place, that your blessing will rest upon us. In the name of Christ, amen. Benediction, please.
Go